you're here on News Today. Now, the Institute of Economic Affairs is calling for a joint collaboration between the Electoral Commission, political parties, and the National Commission for Civic Education to curb the high incidence of rejected ballots. The Institute believes the incidence of rejected ballots, which has assumed alarming proportion, detracts from Ghana's improved democratic process. Let's expand the conversation on this. Dr. Ransford Jampo is a senior fellow at the governance unit of the Institute of Economic Affairs. And I also have David Agbe, executive director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Both gentlemen have joined me over the telephone. You're welcome to the program, sirs.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Committee.
Absolutely. Dr. Jampo, I'm going to start with you. Elaborate on this recommendation from the IEA.
Oh, I'm sure you are aware that since 1992 that we were ushered into a fourth Republican democratic dispensation, our electoral politics has oftentimes been characterized by high incidence of rejected ballots. Democracy at its minimum level requires that people should be able to express their will in any election. We argue that the high incidence of rejected ballots that have characterized the conduct of our elections undermines the expression of the will of people at every election. And so it is important that we take drastic efforts to ensure that it is kept. And I'm sure that in a release that you may have, we've indicated the statistics, and we have said that in 2008, for instance, we wouldn't have had the business of conducting a runoff or even a third round election had the incidence of rejected ballots being kept. Indeed, as I said in a release, if rejected ballots had been constituted into a political party, they would have probably come out third in the election race, far ahead of Christendom's votes that he garnered. And if you look at what happened in 2012, the incidents of rejected ballots were also many and quite, numerous compared to
how do we minimize the incidences of rejected votes?
In the release we stated historically, you need NCC, you need the EC, you need political parties to think about how to do it. First of all, it's been argued that it could be ignorance, it could be illiteracy, it could be lack of knowledge about the thumb printing process. It's also been argued that sometimes you may have certain malevolent election officials who find their way in the strongholds of the opposition, and during sorting out of the ballot papers, they find a way of, a way to stain some of them in a manner that invalidates the ballots and all that. So we are saying that, first of all, NCC, EC, and political parties must embark on a sustained, educational campaign aimed at sensitizing and sort of educating the people about the voting process. And then at the polling centers, polling agents, party agents must be vigilant and keep an eye on some unscrupulous election officials who may want to just invalidate ballot papers simply because of their own interest or agenda that they may be having.
But Dr. Jampo, could we have as many as over 250,000 unscrupulous persons who would probably deliberately want to mismark the ballot paper? Perhaps it's the ink we are using.
It's not one person. It's not one person. The point is that it's been argued. We are yet to authenticate that. That's but if you speak to the political parties themselves, they say that sometimes you may have. It's just one of the causes or one of the possible causes that you have one person just trying to just embark on this mischievous act just to invalidate ballot papers. And then sometimes too, you may have people who are so much disenchanted about the electoral process and politics in general. And so to show their disaffection or their displeasure for the processes, well, they decide to just confront in front or in the faces of all the candidates, just to nullify their ballots and all that. So it's important that we don't leave it to the NCC alone, who would obviously come out to say they don't have money to do much of meetings. But political parties themselves, if they want to win power, if we want to ensure that democracy prevails, at least at its minimum level, and that the will and wishes of the people should always be expressed at all elections, then we must have that concerted effort in curbing the incident of rejected ballots.
Dr. Sijampo, I'll let you go off here. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
But I still have David Agbe, who is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. David, thank you very much for your patience. But do you also see the rejected or the increase in number of rejected votes cast as a major detractor from Ghana's improved democratic process, like the IEA views it?
Yeah, thank you once again. I think that the call by the IEA is more appropriate, that we've all realized this issue of rejected, ballot. For us, it is not rejected ballot alone. We have spoiled ballot as well. And so the two, goes together, and it is affecting our electoral processes. We thought that, we could have minimized this situation if we actually involve all the stakeholders trying to educate the electorate as to what they need to do so that they will be able to exercise their franchise very well, which they could actually count their voting rather than being, these rejected ballot and spoiled ballot and all that. So I think that all of us need to be involved, especially the media. You are you have the strong weapon as to the way we can all engage the society in terms of education and all that. So I think that the call is more appropriate, and we need to actually ensure that 2016, we be able to, minimize all these kind of rejected ballots. It comes in different, ways. The Electoral Commission has a role to play in terms of engaging all the, these things, it is not about the urban center and then the rural folk, but you realize that majority of these, rejected ballot and spoiled ballot comes from the rural areas where they do not have access to these kind of telecommunication gadgets in terms of TV stations. Some of them do not have access to, radio sets, and so they are not being engaged in terms of education. So the education needs to be intensified in the rural areas, so that they will all be more involved into these processes where their vote could also be, appreciated, or their vote could be counted.
But David, you agree with me that your submission now is only to assume that most of the rejected ballot votes come from the rural areas. But considering we don't have a clear idea of where these rejected votes cast are coming from, would want to stick with the fact that we just have a general number of rejected votes cast. My concern is I can't see 250,000 people having it all wrong because perhaps they don't know how to vote. Perhaps we could have a situation where the ink we use in voting, maybe it drips.
Precisely, and that is where I made a point by saying that we have spoiled, ballot. The spoiled ballot comes in when the print is not good enough, and people could do double voting, or people could even use their ink to spoil the ballot itself. So it is the two, the rejected and the spoiled ballot, goes together. If we are able to actually educate the public as to the way they need to even put their fingerprint into the ink, because people could even use their all their fingers. Some could even use two and other things. So they all come to play when we are talking of rejected ballots and spoiled ballots.
And then it also brings to the fore, I'm sorry to cut in, but we would have to wrap up on this conversation quickly. It also brings to the fore the question a lot of people have been asking: should everyone matter when it comes to voting? Is it everybody who should be allowed to vote? Perhaps we should take a second look at it.
No, I mean, if you, I should take you to the religious, community. Even Jehovah's Witness people do not vote. They register, but they do not even vote. So everybody or anybody who has registered, obviously they are not supposed to. Some are obviously going to vote. Others are going to say that we are not interested based on religious, practices here and there. But those who have registered and who have shown interest of casting their vote, we need to actually educate them the more so that they will be able to know the do's and then the don'ts, so that their vote could be counted. Because democracy is about exercising your franchise, to also ensure that you express your interest into whatever happens in the country. So if you continue to vote and your vote will not be counted based on the fact that they did not educate you to vote accordingly or to vote appropriately, where at the end of the day they will say that your vote is spoiled, your vote is rejected and all that. I think that the society will need to actually engage almost everybody who is interested in our electoral process.
David, we'll leave it here. Many thanks for your time. Let's stay on some more party politics, this time with a new patriotic party. And you know that it will be voting across 275 polling centers in the country this Saturday, October 18, to elect a new flag bearer. Now, ahead of that, Joy News has been seeking the views of some Ghanaians on why the euphoria surrounding the election seems to be relatively, lower than many expected. Well, some people, Joy News spoke to, blame it on the economy and the fact that some of the flag bearer aspirants are low on cash. Others think the disunity in the party is definitely the reason.
I think it could be due to the fight here and there in the party, and then publicity is low. People don't know what's really going on, and so I think it could be due to all this.
I think that people are getting a bit fed up with political issues because of the consistent disappointment from leaders and all that. So this time around, they are not all that actively in support, because over the previous years, what they expected government to do for them, they didn't do it. So gradually, they are losing interest in political leaders. That's how I see it.
I think the wranglings in MPP is not helping. I'm not too much of a political person, but I don't like this whole idea of people fighting in-house. That's number one. And when you fight in-house, what happens is that the few of us who are out there looking for an alternative, you understand? Then we are like, it seems there's any answer mean to me, and let me go back to wherever I'm coming from. So I think the wranglings is one. Number two, the economy. People are too busy trying to find bread, for their families. So it's not a very easy thing. So that could be one of the reasons why these things are happening.
I think people are tired of these people coming here and there. They are not winning, and they are always contesting. So I wish that maybe they sit down and then new people come in to contest. That is all. Because most people are tired. They are tired of hearing Nana. They are tired of hearing Chair Martin today here, and then they are fighting here and there. I think so. So I think that the best is the two of them sit, and then they ask some people to do the contest. That will be the best.
Well, all that I can say is about the system being too low in financial aspects, because I can say that there is no money in the system. That is why you are not seeing the colors flowing all over in town. But in fact, we are all aware that something like that is going on, but because of the financial aspects, Ghana, we are financially broke for now. So it is hardly to see the colors of the political parties running all around like that. So that is why we are not seeing the flavor, but people are aware of it.
So definitely, I think it's because of the misunderstanding. That is why, things are moving in the other way around. But I think, they being coming back together is going to help we realize that they are back again on stage, to be honest. Yeah.
Everybody is serious with his or his business. We've come to an age where we do not go much into the politics anymore. We got to know that the leaders, they are all one. when they come into the system, they are all one. So we are not much into the politics anymore. For me per se, not much into the politics anymore. That's all I can say.
Okay, I think people have lost interest in the politicians, so there's no point following them around, because when they come, all they do is their own interests and they forget about the country. So people don't really care about it anymore. They also want to do something for themselves rather than following all these people, because at the end of the day, when they come, they think about themselves and not the nation as a whole.
Now, here's a group of persons who are battle ready, no matter what, for the NPP National Delegates Congress come Saturday, October 18. The Ghana Police Service. Now, the service says that it is dedicating more than 2,000 persons when it finally implements its 3-tier strategy to ensure an even free process across the country. DSP Cephas Arthur is in charge of public relations at the Ghana Police and has been speaking to Joy News.
As at now, a lot of measures have been put in place. Very comprehensive security measures have been put in place to provide security and maintain law and order during the election. I can say that we have put in place a 3-tier security arrangement comprising personnel to be posted or deployed to the polling stations, who are the first point of contact as far as the security is concerned at the polling station. And then after that, we have a second ring or second tier, which is the patrol teams. The patrol teams will be patrolling the constituencies. We are made to understand that one polling station for one constituency. So we'll have patrol teams also patrolling the constituency so that they can provide a backup support to the men who are deployed at the various polling stations in case the need arises. Then after that ring, we have the final ring being the standby team. They will be standing by to respond in case of any emergency. About 2,000, but I can assure you that we are more than 2,000.
So about 2,000 people have been deployed?
More than 2,000 people have been deployed.
More than 2,000?
Yes, not about. More than 2,000 people have been deployed. If you come there on Saturday and decide to take the laws into your own hands and start attacking people, assaulting people, and doing acts that are clearly criminal, the police will not even wait for anybody, because then it falls within our domain. So we'll go into action and make arrests and prosecute.
Several months after the president promised contractors on the Legon-Medina Adenta Road project of funds to finish the project, work is far from completion. The contractors explain funds for the project is simply non-available.
The road from the Okponglo end of the project is yet to see the demarcation of the lanes, making it difficult for motorists, especially at night. The street lights are also absent, posing danger for motorists. According to students living around the UPSA junction, lives have been claimed at this particular junction in recent times as a result of the unavailability of traffic lights and road signs.
On Medina Adenta Road was expected to be completed in 18 months, but as we speak, the road is yet to be completed. Now, the contractor speaking to me off camera blamed unavailability of funds for the stalling of the project. The president earlier on this year visited this place and promised to make funds available for the completion of the project, but this is yet to be realized. The contractor indicated that accessing the funds has been a major problem for reasons he couldn't explain. This junction you see here is without a traffic light, and it's a major junction at the UPS junction. Now, drivers try to maneuver their way through, and this has resulted in many accidents, causing fatalities. Even pedestrians have been knocked down by cars, especially at night, where there is no lights, street lights around here to indicate who is coming and who is going.
Another challenge is the unfinished footbridges that are supposed to be constructed along the stretch of the road project. Though they are yet to be completed, pedestrians and drivers have already started complaining about the positioning of the bridges.
Crossing, even the drivers will not stop for you to cross, and it's very dangerous to ask the pedestrians. The footbridge is far from where the market people mostly cross. So if the government will help, they should reconstruct some here so that it will help the market women.
Because when you are not ready to allow someone to go, maybe you can hit someone without any comment or something like that, because people want to cross, because they want to go fast to do their work. Drivers want to go fast so that they can do also their work. So because of that problems, it's giving some problems, more problems. Giving us some problems. We need a traffic light here. If they are planning to do it, they have to do things fast. The footbridge is now giving some problem, because the one at the Relco Junction, if you need some here, just around here, it will help, because it's far from here. They have not been completed. So if they have to do that, they have to make things.
This is how dangerous it is to cross this particular road. You can see the people standing there trying to cross the road, but because the cars are moving, they are unable to cross. Some try as much as they can to maneuver their way and cross the road by force, and that results in, most of the time, in car knocking them down. Manolante reporting for Joy News.
In the studio, my name is Kamini Nyamani Amano. There's more ahead here on News Today. Don't go away.